Welcome to the VMJ Pod, where we feature industry experts, on the tools practitioners, and Video My Job customers to help you activate your employer brand strategy and EVP. Hey there, it's Britt here with this episode of the VMJ Pod, and today I am speaking to Brie Mason about how to activate an EVP specifically through the career site. Now, Brie is an employer brand thought leader. She is the founder of Employer Brand Mason, and she has over 18 years experience dedicated to building multi-award winning employer brands in the APAC region. So here is what you can expect from today's conversation. Why insufficient content quality and a poor user experience is negatively impacting your career site conversion rate, practical ways that we can dive below the surface for our candidates and answer their key questions, and finally, Brie's number one recommendation for building any employer brand, which is through employee advocacy. So if you want to understand how to bring your EVP to life through the lived experience of your people and optimize your career site for conversion, then this is the VMJ Pod episode for you. Brie Mason, welcome to the VMJ Pod. I'm so excited to have you here, so thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. You actually joined us as a co-host on the second half of last year on Talking Talent
Yes.
Live. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are a familiar face, I'm sure, to many people who are tuning in. I've listened to almost all of those sessions now because I was off having my daughter, and I love the way that you are able to communicate the many ways to activate an EVP. So that's what I want to dive into today, that big topic of how you actually go about doing that, how you bring an EVP to life. But I want to make it really specific to the career site. So let's start by, I guess, setting the scene for our listeners. What is the role of the career site in context of an employer brand strategy?
Right. I think essentially your career site really serves as that really powerful tool for promoting your employer brand and communicating your EVP to prospective candidates. I think by really thinking about how you're leveraging that platform, you can attract, engage, convert top talent and those that are more aligned to your culture and your organizational goals. When I talk to my clients, I say kind of picture your career site as the storefront of your company's shop on a really busy street. It's like the eye-catching display in that front window that makes people stop when they're walking past and take a closer look. So just as a great display does, it's like really cool setup going on, but it's got kind of it's putting out there really what's unique about that shop, and it's kind of got the best items are in that front window. Just like that, I guess your career site should also be highlighting all the awesome things that I guess that are on offer, and what it's like to work for your organization to really entice potential candidates to step inside the shop to learn more about what you've got to offer. I think there's so many roles it plays, and I think obviously it's showcasing your employer brand, and obviously there's so many ways in which your employer brand is promoted, and a lot of those you don't necessarily have control over. So this is the one place where you control that narrative, so you can put your best foot forward, really position and present the organization in the way that you want it to be seen to potential talent, also to existing as well, obviously. It's a place to communicate your EVP. So by clearly articulating the benefits of working for your company, I think as well as not just communicating, it's then the showing in depth, that kind of evidence of how you deliver on it. It's, I guess, attracting more of the right people who are resonating with that. I think there's an opportunity for a role for it to engage and educate candidates. So thinking about it, how I guess people would visit that career site at a number of stages of that consideration journey. How do you really provide them more depth of insight around everything they want to know and kind of answer those key questions they would have to help candidates make a really informed decision? Um, and the last one, and probably the key one, would be around its role is to really drive conversions and applications. So ultimately, it's becomes the center of your digital talent attraction strategy, or not even just digital. It's like all your marketing efforts are really driving back to that place as that place to really essentially, hopefully, educate and convert people into applicants. So I think a number of things I've covered there, but I think it's a really important that you have a really kick-ass careers website.
Yes, yes. And I want to talk to you about having a career site that is optimized for conversions. So we will get into that. But first of all, I love the analogy of it being your storefront. I think that's wonderful. And also at Video My Job, we talk a lot about, keeping candidates within your ecosystem,
Yeah.
and the career site, like it's your home. You can keep them there, you can engage them, you can answer their key questions.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get a little bit distracted by the shininess of social media and all of the other platforms where we need to be, where we have the storefront there that needs attention.
Yes. And in many cases, it needs attention.
Oh, yeah. And another thing, there's often a problem that I hear though with coming back to, I guess, doing all of these weird and wonderful things with our career site is sometimes employee branders or TA folks don't actually have like the ownership of the site, or they don't control it. So I hear that a lot in conversation with our Video My Job customers. But I wanted to know, is that something you hear? And are there other challenges really that come up for you around activating your EVP through the career site specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in a job search, people are just the mindset of talent or what's going on for them. People are really looking to change their lives. Um, and what I see is that they're really not getting much information about what that means. So the organizations aren't putting much in-depth information out there, but they're very much basically begging candidates to apply. Because you think about it, a lot of time it is just job ads that are in the market, and they're all like, apply now. But there's nothing below the really surface level claims around the why work here if there's lucky to be a paragraph of that in a job ad. So I think I've been shocked in my 15 years, but particularly the last 5 years of working consulting across organizations, all shapes and sizes. I'm shocked by how many companies still don't have any content on their careers website that really sells their EVP, or even if they don't have an EVP, it's kind of providing the what's in it for me, the WIFM
Mm,
of joining the organization.
mhm,
What I see is typically, or not typically, in a lot of cases, the company careers website will then have a careers link, which often then links out and redirects to a separate website, which is what's housing all of their role vacancies. So where people are searching and applying. And often that's a page or a couple of pages that are hosted by the ATS. So then, if that's what the careers websites are for organizations, they're often limited in the functionality of what you can put on those pages. And often there's a lack of customization that ATS careers page offers as well. And it starts to look very similar across the websites I see. So in the case where you've just got those pages for your careers website, you're then really relying on relatively poorly written job ads, which essentially are lift and shift from a position description. And you're relying on those job ads to do the job of successfully promoting the whole organization as that great place to work. Um, so I guess when we're relying on that, it's fair to assume that the conversion rates are quite low from a careers website as a source of applicants.
mm,
Um, there are a number of other scenarios, I guess, where there's an issue with that where organizations are reliant on their ATS to host that careers page and those simple pages. Um, you're jumping off. That click is a jump off to another website, and that's a bad user experience, and the drop off rate really increases at that point. And when that web page is really owned and housed, I guess, by the ATS provider, you've got no visibility of the site performance, the analytics, kind of what's going on. You've got no idea of what pages people are reading, what they're interested in, what they're doing. You can't then tweak any of that either, which is also an issue when you're running digital campaigns. So if you're doing paid social or even organic social programmatic campaigns, you don't necessarily have anywhere to send traffic to where then you can build a pool um, of people to retarget with your advertising, or you can't understand how effective those campaigns are being. So that's one big scenario where I really see where those career sites are reliant on the ATS pages. Another scenario is when it is sitting on the company site, it's often then you're limited by that really often clunky the functionality of kind of the CMS, the website that they're using,
mm.
and what the TA team are able to make happen to make that work for them in careers. Often it's very limited page designs or functionality or whatever it may be. Um, that job is also often left up to the TA team to have to design their own section. So they're the ones designing the navigation, the site structure. They're the ones writing the content and creating the content. And sorry, but TA people are not web designers. They're not UX experts.
Not
They're
the
not
area of
creative
expertise.
copywriters. It's completely
No.
different expertise, right? Yet they're the ones that are designing and building, creating that section of the company website.
Mm,
As a result, you often get a poor user experience, a really clunky, uninspiring career site, which is probably impacting the impression of your brand. Um, and I think another big one would be the insufficient content quality. So I think the career site should have really high quality content, and that could be obviously really nice visuals, imagery, photography, engaging videos, really informative written materials. I think that's really important to effectively communicate and bring to life your EVP.
mm.
Um, I think it's then finding the right balance of that. So how do we make sure that content is of high quality, but also still feels really authentic and credible, and not just too much like fancy marketing spin that sounds too good to be true. So I'd
Yes.
say, yeah, they're probably the two main scenarios where people have got the two different scenarios where you're dealing with careers websites, and then the challenges associated with each of those.
So if someone's listening who they're either in bucket one with the 2 or 3 page ATS setup, or they're dealing with a very clunky website that they may have designed themselves, and they're not a subject matter expertise, they're
Yeah.
not the subject matter expert. What is, I guess, one of your top tips or top tips to help them bring the EVP to life through the content on their career site? So you said, we need substance, we need a balance of different formats.
Yeah.
The quality still needs to be there, but what are some more tips that we can actually help the listeners attract the right talent?
Yeah. I think what really hits home is real stories from actual employees.
Mhm.
I've been pushing this agenda for over 15 years now. Those who know me, I'm always harping on about that. And I think I was the first organization like over 15, 16 years ago at Telstra to actually use real people and in our photography. And that was like, what? Not
Were
using
you?
software. Yes. And
Ah,
it was so
you're a
it was
trailblazer.
so disruptive at the time. But it's like, wow, it's really not that crazy. But I think when you share the experiences and the testimonials of people and employees, it's really painting a much more vivid picture of what it's like to be part of the team. You're building more of a connection with the organization. And I think authentic storytelling really adds credibility and believability to your messages then.
Mm,
Um, Another one is it surprises me that doesn't happen. It's that I always, when I'm building out websites, I'll always have a whole section which goes deep into the EVP. So whether you want to call it the why work here or often different ways of kind of labeling that. Essentially, you want to bring to life the pillars of your proposition, not just in this high level summarized copy. This is the place to go deep, where you're able to truly demonstrate what that means in your organization. So, for example, career development. Every company can offer career development, but what does that mean in your organization? So, that high level messaging being so common,
mm,
what's the reality of that in your organization? And how do you do development? Is it your focus on learning? So, what training courses are you providing people? Is it career pathways? What do those pathways actually look like? Success stories of people who have started here and gone there,
mm.
mentorship programs, leadership, whatever it might be. I think it's a bit time to go deep on what that looks like to help people who want to do their research kind of get the answers they need so they can kind of fairly weigh up their options.
Yeah. And is that usually a mix of, say, words directly from the people in the organization, as well as, say, someone like yourself talking on behalf of the org?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I always think about, well, how can you tell what it is. So,
Mm,
what content or copy or visuals, whatever it might be, to simply bring to life what that is, but then also show the proof and evidence that that's actually happening. So then, real life stories of people then basically evidencing and just showing what that means to someone working in tech versus someone working in retail,
mm,
whatever it might be. So
mm.
making it kind of real believable and can connect people to people on a different level.
And would you sometimes break that down, like a page for each pillar specifically?
I've had
That would
some where, gosh, I remember when we went layers and layers down because it felt like there was some
mm,
parts of those, the pillars of the proposition where we had so much kind of underneath that as to what we
yeah.
would offer there that allowed us then to create different pages. So then when you're thinking about your marketing communications, whether it be social content, you've actually got a really great landing page or place to direct that traffic to when you're talking about those things specifically, rather than driving people to your homepage, your careers website every time. It was a
Mm.
place, yeah, to really think about how do you build out that and actually create keep people on your site for longer. I think that's when she saying it's like, how do you create it as a destination where people can explore, choose their own adventure, learn more about the organization, and just feel really comfortable and confident that they're making the right decision.
Absolutely. That's something that we've really lent into at Video My Job is, like I said at the start of our chat, trying to keep people within the ecosystem and
Yeah,
almost serve up this library of employee stories. Obviously, our area of expertise is video, so they are video stories. But again, we have, in the same way that you're talking about building out individual pages that dive deep into the pillars, we have categories on this library where you can categorize by pillar. You can have employee stories offering their perspective on that specific part of the EVP. I'd love to understand what your perspective is on employee story videos specifically. We're talking about a mix of content, but if we could talk about videos for a second, I'd love that too.
absolutely. A topic once again I'm very, very passionate about. um, and taking a step back as well. Obviously, I'll get to the video side of it, but
Mm,
I'm a firm, firm believer that employee advocacy is the number one way of building an employer brand.
yes.
Um, so I guess here's the deal, right? Who knows your company better than those who work there every single day? And so when you've got real employees sharing that genuine excitement about what it's like to be part of the team, it really speaks volumes to potential candidates. I guess it's like getting a recommendation from a friend on a product. It's going to
Mm,
be way more convincing than any kind of marketing campaign or ad is ever going to be. That kind of one-to-one peer recommendations and referrals there. Um, I think the other positive side to employee advocacy is it kind of it's a win-win situation because it's actually if you're employee getting employees involved and they're advocating, they're also feeling much more valued and engaged in the organization as well. So you're boosting the company's reputation, yes. Also reach because you're often they're sharing that content as well often.
mm,
Um, and so really you're achieving a couple of things at the same time. So I think when you think about how do you scale advocacy, how do you enable an employee to share their opinions and perspectives to not just a few people that they kind of interact with that happen to ask them about what it's like to work for their company, but how do you get them to be able to share that story and opinion to thousands of people? And I think video is obviously the perfect medium to be able to do that. Um, I think it's perfect because if done well, video testimonials can feel like that really personal conversation between potential colleagues. So using your people to communicate your EVP, it's providing that real proof that's the lived experience every day for employees. And I think then as a going back to it again, that it's that finding that right balance, right? So not just using your people as those smiley faces in ads, just like using them photographs of them like a stock shot, or these really highly polished, high production kind of videos where people feel like paid actors talking to a script.
yes.
So it's obviously there's an element of that. That's there needs to be polish to it,
Mm,
and on the flip side, it can't be, it still needs to be professional. It can't be kind of some dodgy production, because we've all seen some really average videos produced by recruiters or whomever it may be to do their best in trying to promote the organization, but they can come across as quite cringy and really not great for the brand perception there. So
mm.
yes, video, the importance, yeah, it's a huge one for me.
I love when you said that it can feel like a real conversation in video testimonials. And I feel that too. It's almost like a conversation from the employee direct out to the candidates because they're most likely answering all the questions that candidates are sitting at home trying to find, you know, answers to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So couldn't agree with that more. Just on the employee advocacy topic, do you have any tips around finding those advocates within your organization or rallying your people to, be a part of that program?
this is a whole nother conversation.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to
No, no.
say.
If you get me on this one, oh my gosh, you can't.
Okay. Okay.
They have designed and executed a number of programs, and look, there's a lot of learnings, and I think it comes down to the organization and really unpacking or uncovering kind of what are the barriers within that organization, and I found they are quite different. And I
Mm.
had a whole raft of kind of reasons I've kind of uncovered as to why programs and don't work and why people don't get involved. Um, a lot of the time, though, I think it's around the big goal around creating more of a culture of employee advocacy, and there's can be a number of things that can be done in more programmatic ways. I'm going to say that right word to create this culture. So it is opportunities around thinking about it at onboarding, for example. How are you when you're onboarding a new employee, kind of setting the tone to be like, this is what we do in this organization. As part of your onboarding, we'd love you to share your story. We're excited to have you join. Here's a template for posting, for example, that you've got a new job on LinkedIn. How can we help you with doing that? We'd love you to write a blog about why you're excited to join and promote some social content out of that. I think by setting the tone on day one, it starts to set then a kind of a this is how we do things in the
Yeah.
organization. And so therefore, when you're asking people along that journey, kind of it's
Yeah.
more expected or kind of they're more comfortable with that because they've already kind of popped their cherry. They've
Mm.
already done that the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah, it's not a
But
surprise.
yeah, yeah. And when you got leaders, when you got people, particularly I think let's big ones, but leadership, having them out there doing that and setting kind of the tone for how you do things, that definitely helps. But look, all
Mm.
these things, in saying that, if you're in an organization where there's really low engagement, it is going to be very hard to get people to talk and to share their stories. So it's then obviously thinking rather than thinking about your big programmatic kind of approaches to advocacy, I think it's more about fixing some of those problems first, right? But the reality is there'll always be people who are happy at some stage of that career journey. So how do you identify where they're
Hard to
at?
find them. Yeah.
Or just key moments and milestones, right, along a journey. So when
Yeah.
someone's just been promoted, they're going to be happy. Like they're just being given opportunity. So is it that point there, or is it a pay increase time? Or just like looking at that life cycle and think when are people going to be more engaged and willing to speak more positively, and
Mm.
being able to reach out to them as well at that point in time.
Yeah, really trying to map your advocacy strategy to that candidate journey and
Yeah,
those moments that matter, I
yeah.
guess.
Matter, or
Um,
they're going to be most engaged and
yes.
happy about being in your organization.
Definitely. And if we're talking about this dreamlike organization that has a very clear advocacy strategy, really strong on content, has beautiful employee stories on their career site, and a candidate has applied through that experience, coming onto the company, being onboarded in a way that's like, hey, could you film a video about your first week? That's not going to come to them as a surprise. That they'll almost expect that because that's the experience they've had in
Yeah.
the application.
Absolutely. 100%. And then look, if they've been watching videos
Mhm.
before they've joined, then yeah, of course, that's just how it's done, right?
Absolutely. Great. And then the last little bit that I'd love to talk to you about is career site conversions. So, when we overlay that with an employer brand lens, what does success look like?
Look, I think I mentioned before, I think the key goal or role, but the key goal of a career site is to drive leads or applicant conversions. So
Mm.
essentially, it's encouraging candidates to apply for open positions or passive talent to join a talent pool. I guess that's what conversion is in our world. Going back to to my store scenario, in an online store, like your iconic, where my daughter, 8-year-old, has been just buying herself a new pair of Converse a couple of days ago and is now obsessed with online shopping. I think she's hooked, and it's interesting, right? The whole purpose of this site, like they've got experts who work on this, right?
Mm.
The whole purpose of that site is to showcase all the products in amazing ways, and encourage you using every trick in the book, every digital marketing trick, to essentially get you to put that into your shopping cart and complete that purchase. If you didn't complete it, they'll make you get back there and complete that purchase,
Mm.
right? So thinking of your careers website in that same way, that is the entry point into your organization. You need to get people in to opt into that funnel, that sales or like recruitment process, right?
Mm.
So in that really competitive recruitment market, it's absolutely critical to enhance that candidate experience throughout that entire attraction and recruitment process. And I think with the importance of candidate experience and recruitment metrics rising, where everything we're doing and every dollar we're spending is under scrutiny, we simply can't afford to lose the talent we've spent lots of time, money, and effort trying to attract. Um, so I think that the website abandonment rate, speak, right? So essentially, the application, the drop off rate, right? Of an
Mm.
applicant, a potential applicant, right? Is surprisingly huge. And many companies really remain oblivious to kind of where, when, and why candidates abandon that application process. So that shopping cart, like why they haven't gone through that process to essentially submit that application or that lead. So I'd be encouraging people to really have a look at their website conversion rate. So probably think in the simplest form of measuring, knowing that I think true conversion calculations are probably far more complex than this, but looking at your Google Analytics to go, what's that unique, what is that number of unique visitors that you're getting to your website?
Mm.
Same period of time in your ATS, look at how many applications you've received, where the careers website is the source of that application. So
Mm.
imagining you've got 1,000 unique visitors to your careers or job page, but you've only got 100 job applications. Now, 100 is probably quite high in that case. It's probably realistically a much lesser or lower number of visitors to applicants. Just but in that 1,000 to 100 scenario, that's a huge, do the maths, 90% loss of potential talent at that conversion stage, right? So it's
And
crazy,
why
right?
is that? Like, what when you're having, senior leaders so shocked at that drop-off rate, are there some common things that you see? Like, is it due to lack of substance on the career site? Like, is there not enough there? They're coming through channels where it looks like they wanna come in and learn
Yeah.
more, but then there's nothing delivering?
Could be. And look, I think once again, it's so unique to the organization and their situation and scenario of the website. There could be their employer brand strength, but there's so many factors that could be
Mm.
forming that. And it's not until you have that clear picture of kind of those stats to be able to look at, and those, I guess, that those analytics to be able to look at, and give you some lines of questioning to start focusing on, how can we find out, like, I guess exactly where candidates are dropping off through that process, or how could we improve that site experience to remove any potential barriers and increase the conversion. And I think by looking at the website through that lens, you can start to make some decisions and different decisions around what you do with the site experience and kind of what priorities you may have in your talent attraction strategy, which would be kind of different questions you'd be kind of posing if it was just thinking about, oh, what content do we want to create, or making decisions around where we host the website or what that journey looks like. So I think, yeah, going back to your question, there's so many different reasons, but a lot of the time it's just it's not optimized. We're not thought about it through a digital marketing lens to think, what is that user experience? How do we optimize that? How do we reduce the clicks? Serve up really interesting, compelling information, and always have a call to action with a
Mm.
deliberate kind of plan around, well, what do we want people to do at this stage?
Mm.
Where are we driving to? How do we simplify this experience to get people in? Um, I don't think many people really sit down and think about that with their career in regards to their careers website, which is crazy
Mm.
because any marketing team will do that from their consumer kind of perspective, but we just
Yeah.
don't, we're not that sophisticated in our world, unfortunately.
And that's such an obvious kind of starting point for someone as well to work backwards. Like,
Yes.
look at the conversion of the site. Where are the areas that need to be built out more, and what action do we want the candidate to take at those points?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, crazy,
And
crazy.
it is. And I think everyone kind of comes to me going, okay, what can we do to build our employer brand? And we want to be disrupting the market. We want to make some noise out there. And they've got some budget to put towards some marketing campaigns, which is awesome. But then I look at their careers website and I was like, there's no point in spending that money because essentially we need to drive them somewhere and you can spend that money making noise and driving them there. That's not optimized. There's no reason for them to actually do anything. Like they're going to get there and drop off, and you've often wasted that opportunity for that particular
Mm.
candidate. And when there are smaller markets as well that you're trying to kind of recruit within, you need to make sure it's a really great experience. And it's, I think, yeah, focusing on that, having that really good conversion place, which is your careers website
Yeah.
first, and then think about how you're driving people there is kind of the key priorities.
Absolutely. What do you sorry, all these questions keep going in my head. I just don't want to while I've got you, I need to ask you. What do you recommend to the people who come to you with a shoestring budget that want all of these things, but like you said, they don't have a great career site? Is there something you go to or you direct them towards to help them make improvements in their strategy?
Employee advocacy.
Yeah.
So thinking about what could that look like in your organization. So as I mentioned, it's something as simple as creating a little template that people could be asked on day one or when they've been offered a job. Here, post this to LinkedIn rather than using the standard average one that LinkedIn kind of has an offer, a silly animation. It's like it's a branded opportunity. It could be something like simple as that, or it could be something like thinking about how you're getting your people's stories out there through your social content or as a blog, or even just featuring them on the careers website. There's obviously so many things and ways in which you can activate your people as advocates, but often they can be cheap and easier ways to do that. And when you've got a bit more budget, I'd be thinking definitely around video as a medium to be able to tell that story in a much more engaging way.
For sure. And if you start that behavior from the beginning and almost start collecting those advocacy pieces right from the start of their candidate journey, that can then funnel through to your video strategy of when you are ready to house it all in one place, put some effort into that ecosystem. I think that's a great piece of advice on your behalf, Brie. Anything else to add, I guess, until and then unless we wrap up? Anything that you're really
Oh,
focused on at the moment? Anything?
look, these are key topics, and I think they're really relevant to quite a few companies I'm working with at the moment now. And it's thinking about, well, what can we do with what we've got to be most effective and in these areas. It's okay, if this is the website we're working with, this is what we're stuck with, then let's work within that and with every little hack we can make it as effective as possible. Or thinking about how we can be getting employee stories out and using AI and using tools we've got available to us to do that effectively and at scale. Kind of definitely key priorities right now is where people are focusing.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom today. I've loved having you on, and we'll have to have you back sometime soon.
I'd
Part two.
love that. Gonna miss you guys.
Oh, it's not goodbye. It's see you later. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about activating your employer brand strategy and EVP, then you can check out podcast.videomyjob.com for a library of industry perspectives and how-tos. Now, if you're ready to level up your activation strategy, then you need an employee story video platform, and that's what we do. Go to videomyjob.com/demo to book a walkthrough with one of our video specialists, or click on the pricing page to learn about our new 90-day pilot program. Lastly, we'd love for you to help us spread the word about the VMJ Pod to attract new experts and practitioners to share their activation strategies. So please take a screenshot of wherever you're listening and post it on LinkedIn. Don't forget to tag us at VideoMyJob. We are so grateful when you do that.